Finance should just be taught in school. I know it doesn't teach you a different way of thinking. I know that. Here's the other issue with teaching practical subjects. If you get it wrong, if you fuck up, if you teach children wrong about practical subjects, you're liable.
Well, when you
really fuck up.
Yeah, when you teach someone something wrong and they believe it, it's twice as hard to unlearn it.
Exactly.
So
if you teach a kid something about driving,
they have to unlearn that, and that's like, do you realize how complicated that is?
It's fucked. It's fucked. Teachers struggle with it all the time. But like, if I learn pi r squared wrong, big whoop. If I don't learn turn signals right, I could kill somebody, and therefore the school's liable. I totally get that. But we are also teaching kids sexual education wrong, and kids are committing suicide because of it. And that's a bold statement.
Wow.
I know.
Haven't heard that. Okay.
It's a bold statement.
Whoa, Javis.
But fucking, it's ruining lives. I'm sorry. You're perpetuating a culture that oppresses minorities in terms of not only race, but also sexual identity. And it's just really fucked up. And so you're responsible and liable for that. So if you're going to be responsible and liable for somebody's self-esteem, then you might as well make sure they know how to do their fucking taxes.
All right, up, you guys. I'm Breeesin Smith.
And I'm Javin.
And this is Who Cares? Hey, we got it. We finally got it.
We got it. We got it.
Wow.
We're playing with sound effects. We have them now. We figured out how to use. I was so stupid.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of turning up the volume.
I know, we're still getting used to this. I do want to say, though, before we hop into our topic at hand, that it has been like 2 weeks. And that's because I went on vacation and I was visiting some family friends. So now that I'm back, we'll definitely be, back to uploading on our regular schedule, which is like Saturdays and Sundays, and just go from here. So.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be pretty consistent from here on.
Yeah, no, we will. Definitely will. I had to go on vacation. So I did that. Now I'm back. I went to Michigan. I had a lot of fun. It was dope.
How was Michigan? You said it was beautiful. You went on a hike?
It was beautiful, man. We went on I don't want to go too far off track because I do want to get into the talk, but we went I was with my family friends. We went camping. We went on this beautiful rainforest, not a rainforest, but it was like this nice forest jungle-like hike. We drank a lot. I was drunk a lot. Danced. Awesome. It was just a lot of fun. It was definitely what I needed. It was like a reset button on my life because I was just going, and I actually got to pause and just chill and relax. So. Yeah, but we're back, I'm jealous. I'm gonna let you handle the intro to the topic at hand, and we'll go from there.
So, today we're tackling the education system, specifically what topics or subjects should be taught in schools.
Right.
So this basically just most generally is discussing what should we be teaching our kids in schools, specifically how should we organize the information we are dispensing to children or anyone really, college down.
Right.
And this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like before we even, we should ask what subjects are they teaching kids right now in school?
They're teaching. Okay, so most generally they're teaching math,
right? English
or just language and writing. Foreign languages, any alternative language other than the one we're speaking.
Right.
History, physical education, which is really general. Did I say science?
No, I don't think you said science.
So yeah, math, English, history, alternative language, physical education. I want to say there's one more.
As far as when they're teaching kids, I think that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it, yeah. And then as you go higher, it just becomes more complicated.
Right, when we say kids, we're talking about just grade school, right? Or even into middle school or
K
high
through
school?
12, yeah.
Okay, I got you.
K through 12. And obviously it gets more complicated as you go, but generally the subjects work that way. Like physics is a science, right. Chemistry. So those are our subjects. So why is this even controversial in the first place? Well, because a lot of people want to talk about subjects being in school that just mostly aren't. And there are a lot of subjects that are taught in schools that a lot of people feel that are largely unnecessary.
I agree with that.
Not as important as people make them out to be.
Because a lot of what you learn in school, at least from what I've learned, you really don't apply it to real life. and I feel like a lot of people know this. Like when we learn math, and we were talking about this before we started recording. I don't know if the reason for learning math is to equivalent. How do you say that word?
Equivocate.
I wasn't even thinking equivocate. I was thinking equivalate or something.
Oh,
but equivocate, I guess, whatever that means. I've never used that. When people learn math, I don't think they equivocate. What's that word funny to me? Equivocate it to using money. Like, why do we learn math? Like, when you think of math, do you think of money? Does learning math help you? Do you go to do you go to money in your mind?
No, not even close. Math. Okay, I'm speaking purely from a nerd's position.
Let's hear it.
Math is extremely useful when I want to approach an abstract concept or any phenomenon methodically. So, for example, if I want to answer the question of like, why do brains, why do we even talk? Like, how often do people talk? And this is actually a topic we're going to go into. Should people talk? When do people talk? If I start approaching this more methodically, I'll need something to keep my place.
Okay.
I'll need numbers. I'll need to be like, okay, this person talks this much per this instance. If I start breaking things down into details, math starts becoming a lot more useful. I'm not explaining myself very well, but
I'm like trying to follow you. I'm like,
basically, I just mean that math is really useful for me to describe something that works every single time.
You're saying you just said math is useful for you to describe something?
Yeah. Generalized in the purest sense of the word. If I want to know how fast a cloud moves, math will describe that behavior better than anything else. English wouldn't have the sophistication necessary.
If you're going through the details, like how you mentioned earlier.
Right. But
I guess that makes sense.
My issue, though, is like not everyone.
But you're not going to jump to just thinking like that.
No, I'm not. And that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So teaching kids math in school is useful to get people familiar with the concept of using numbers and abstract concepts, but it's not so good with the actual math. I'm like, oh, how do I generalize this thing into something I can use every single time? We don't think of math that way. We think of it as like calculation. 1 + 1 = 2.
Think of it as just school. Like it doesn't even.
It's
like
not
how often are you using math in your real life?
You have to work at making it important in your life, and nobody teaches you how to do that very effectively.
Unless you're like a math teacher.
Yeah.
Other than that, why are you really putting so much energy into math?
Yeah. Secondly, English, right?
Let's talk about
a lot of people feel that English sucks because, and a lot of people actually like it. They're like, English is really relevant, but in terms of what they're teaching you, it's not relevant to your real life. We already know English, and that's a lot of people's argument. I already know English. Why do I need to learn this? And the answer is, well, it teaches you how to use English in a manner that might be more useful to you and how to write.
Okay.
Writing is an invaluable skill, except they don't really teach you how to write. They teach you arbitrary rules. You don't really know what they're for. And until you get to a point where you're writing professionally in any setting, you won't understand why they're teaching you this thing. And that's really the issue when it comes to subjects.
Okay, so leaning into our next little subject, what do you think we should be being taught in school? I mentioned earlier, I think that like we were talking about what was it, practical subjects?
Yeah, practical and abstract.
And abstract subjects. So, for example, for like what I think they should be teaching in school, as far as a practical subject goes, I think that they should be teaching children how to drive already in school. I think that should be a class, for teenagers to actually, take a class and actually learn how to drive and learn how to use a car, learn how to use a vehicle versus, doing something, like outside of school, when like your mom or your friend or somebody teaches you how to drive. I think that should already be in school. And I think that might even lower the deaths on teens when they go out driving, because it's at this point now it's educational. You're learning how to use a car. You're learning it in school on the regular.
Yeah, it's a system.
Right,
it's
a system.
Systemized, formalized system.
I think that would be really useful for teenagers. I think that should be a class. I think that should be a part of the educational system.
Yeah, and I personally agree with Bryson. But if I had to take the opposite point, a lot of, let's say, teachers argue, and I think they do, they would argue that learning to drive doesn't actually teach you a different way of approaching life.
Okay.
So one could argue that school's objective is to teach you a different way of thinking. Learning English doesn't teach you more about the English language more necessarily, but does teach you how to approach language. Does teach you how to approach a different kind of thinking that's different from, say, math or science. Driving is just a skill. You can look that up online. But
it's an essential skill. Everyone drives. You need to drive, especially if you live in, like I know like people in New York don't necessarily need to know how to drive, but essentially everyone drives. That's something that you need to do in life, especially if you want to do things with your friends, if you want to go places, if you want a job, you have to learn how to drive. I would say that's just as important as learning the English language, if you ask me. Like they're all like, there's certain things you need to do, so. Yeah.
Okay, and this is where the practical versus abstract. Who cares if driving isn't a different way of thinking?
Yeah,
I need to learn how to do it.
Exactly.
Taxes, finances.
Like I think you said driving isn't essential or something to life. You said something like that, but I'm like, it actually is.
Yeah, and that's a fact.
Yeah, whether you learn that in school or not, it is. You don't learn that in school, but I think you should. But it is something you should learn, and you need to know in life.
Right. Beyond that, like a sexual education, which is terrible. It's okay. This is not up for debate.
This is not up for debate.
Sexual.
I think that was the wrong.
It's still relevant.
We'll use that one.
we're still figuring it out. Sexual education is important in this country, in almost every single school across the United States of America. That is, to me, not up for debate. You should debate it if you want to. I won't, because it's a fact to me.
Fair.
But it doesn't teach you a different way of thinking, learning about sex and stuff like that. But it is.
So, not to cut you off, but your argument is that school is supposed to teach you a different way of thinking. And so if something doesn't teach you a different way of thinking, it's not.
You could just look it up. You could just look it up online.
But you're saying that school is supposed to teach you a different way of thinking, right? And if it doesn't do that, as far as school goes, then it's not necessary?
Some would argue that.
Okay.
And in fact, in most instances, I would argue that, except for the case of like sexual education. Like, you gotta learn that, and your parents are not the ones to do it. I'm sorry. In a lot of cases, they should be,
right.
But most of the time, they're not going to be because of various reasons.
Well, you're gonna learn sex from having sex. That's natural. So that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, but learning gender, identity, how to express the sexuality, what forums you can be yourself on. Your parents aren't going to have all the information, and maybe not even all the necessary perspectives for you to go out into the world and explore. And who am I to say that that's not a different way of thinking? For example, driving technically could be a different way of thinking depending on who's doing it.
Well, you have to be thinking when you drive, believe it or not, because you got to be conscious of what's going on around. You got to be conscious of what you're doing and what other cars are doing.
Yeah, it's technically a physical education. At soccer, what soccer is supposed to teach me a different way of thinking? It's a weak argument once you get into it.
Right. Okay, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So on that front, let's go to another extreme.
like another practical one?
Yeah, like sometimes practical classes just aren't quote unquote practical. For example,
I'm listening. Sorry.
No, you're all good. Like, I don't really need to take. I'm struggling to find an example in my mind.
What, like
basically, like it's technically a practical skill, but I really could just look it up online. My uncle is an English teacher, and he quotes this all the time. He says he refuses to teach MLA format. And it's like, what? He's an English teacher. He should. He's like, because literally you can go on your computer and learn it in 2 minutes.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. That's why he refuses to teach it. He's like, I promise you, I will do a worse job than the internet in this instance. I'm here to teach you how to approach language and English. MLA format does none of those things. You really can. So taking a class on like formatting might be useful once you're in college, but growing up, you have the resources necessary. I don't have to give everything to you. I'm here to guide your thinking. So you coming to me and being like, I need every single detail about every single practical thing, when I really can just look it up and I would be fine.
Right. You can learn a lot of things that way nowadays, especially with YouTube and the internet.
Which is kind of killing the education industry. But
really, whatever. If you truly wanted to learn something, you could literally look it up yourself and figure it out.
What you can't do is okay. For example, and this is kind of like a going off track, but an invaluable, like a good teacher is invaluable regardless of whatever subject you're learning.
Invaluable?
Invaluable. It is the single most influential factor relating to how you learn. If you have a good teacher, you are going to remember that teacher for the rest of your life.
Why? I still have teachers I remember. I'm like, yeah, that was a good teacher.
Yeah, same. And why would that be? Because those teachers typically show you a different way of approaching the subject that makes sense to you and is not just a same rote, tired, the same routine.
I would even say you're going to remember the worst teachers too. To be honest, because you're going to remember how bad it was. You just so that works too.
Yeah. So I guess that's the controversy. How much should we let the student take learning into their own hands versus how much value does a teacher actually have given a subject?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything to?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, do you think that learning religion should be a standard in the educational system? So like religion, should that be like not just a class, but that's actually like in the system?
I struggle with that one because in the same way of sexual education, I think in terms of subjects, right, how we should organize it. Yeah, I don't know where these flies are coming from.
Flies attacking.
Summer. Is it summer? It's still summer.
It's still summer.
Yeah. I'm losing track of time. This corona thing is killing me. But fucking the point is how we organize each subject should relate to me learning something, right? Okay. I should learn something no matter what. If I'm in that class and I'm not learning something, it's worthless. That's the problem with math and stuff like that. If I'm learning something in that class, why should I be learning it? I should be learning it because it will provide some kind of benefit to me.
Right.
Will learning about different kinds of religions in school provide me an actual measurable benefit?
It can. Let's say you're learning about Christianity and you end up dating someone who is Christian. And you can actually talk to her about specific things that maybe Christians might only know, or usually they do know. And you can relate to her and she likes that. So it's possible that it can benefit you.
Yeah. Let's say that there's an entire group of people who believe in a specific religion and you're interacting with them and you're not sure if they're quote unquote dangerous or not. Learning about their religion would probably help you with that.
I would say learning about anything is beneficial, to be honest.
Of course.
There's no, I will never say, it's never a bad thing to learn something. Knowledge is always useful. Now, some might be more, I don't want to say more useful than others, but you might come across something that you might use. Like, let's say you learned, let's say like you learned a lot of math and you become a math teacher. So you might be using your knowledge of math more so than something else.
Yeah, of course.
So,
and you're saying relevant.
Some
information is more relevant to me.
Yeah, depending on your lifestyle and what you do. But I would never say any information is bad.
Of course.
Or knowledge,
And I guess that's what I mean. Today, learning about culture and religion while it is not going to be universally applicable in every single situation right now in the day and age we're in, it's really important. And I think it should be taught in schools. So
you do think religion should be like a standard?
Yeah, I don't know if it should be a subject. I think it should be a part of like history and
well, they do have, you can learn religion like in college, but
oh, of course, yeah. But
should
I
it be like even
earlier.
in like, let's say high school, they start teaching religion. I think they started teaching, what is it? I know is it in elementary school or is it in high school? My sister recently, this fly is irritating me, told me that they're learning about gay marriage now or something.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're learning about gay marriage, and stuff like that.
This fly really likes you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
So to me, when I hear that, I think they are adding more things to the educational system, and I think I would agree with that. Religion should be a standard. I mean, why not? Why shouldn't it be?
Right. And then it's like, well, why isn't dance taught in school? Well, it might not be relevant to everyone. Okay. I'm gonna make a statement now. I'm gonna make a formal statement. Okay.
Wait. Is there anything that we can like make the statement, Jonathan? I think that could be a new thing we do. Make your statement.
I'm making a formal statement. All right, we'll work with that. I can.
That's a thing now. That's a thing.
Practical subjects should be related to how directly relevant they are to each individual in the classroom, while abstract subjects should be taught to everyone regardless of how relevant they are. And let me expound on that. Abstract topics are generally going to be widespread. Like math, you can pretty much apply that anywhere.
Right.
You might not do it, and that's fine, but the chances of you doing it are better than you not doing it in some circumstance. I'm not going to use pi r squared in most circumstances.
Definitely not.
But at least one of the pieces of math I learn will apply it to the rest of my life. Abstract concepts have a really good way of doing that, while practical subjects are pretty narrow. So driving, everyone in a classroom is going to need to know how to drive, while they might not all need to know how to dance. And I know,
dancing is so much fun.
Art was the other one.
What were you gonna say about art?
That's just one of the subjects they generally teach at school.
I feel like you could. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
That one's controversial. Like art as a subject is its own controversy.
You got me thinking, should they have like dance classes in school? Because they don't.
They should have, it's the same as soccer. Soccer's not going to be relevant to each individual in that class, while physical education is, and physical education is a fucking nightmare in this country. Please fix it, like, immediately. But physical education is important. I need to know how to interact with my body in any way. Dance should be one of those ways, in the same way that soccer, basketball, football, baseball, ball.
That'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
It would be fun, and it would allow more accessibility, not just to the athletic kids, but to any kids who want to learn more about their body in a productive way.
I agree with that.
But like practical subjects like culture or I'm gonna make a formal statement. I know it's
let's do it again.
I'm on fire. Finance should just be taught in school. I know it doesn't teach you a different way of thinking. I know that. Here's the other issue with teaching practical subjects. If you get it wrong, if you fuck up, if you teach children wrong about practical subjects, you're liable.
Well, when you
really fuck up.
Yeah, when you teach someone something wrong and they believe it, it's twice as hard to unlearn it.
Exactly.
So
if you teach a kid something about driving,
they have to unlearn that, and that's like. Do you realize how complicated that is?
It's fucked. It's fucked. Teachers struggle with it all the time. But like, if I learn pi r squared wrong, big whoop. If I don't learn turn signals right, I could kill somebody, and therefore the school's liable. I totally get that. But we are also teaching kids sexual education wrong, and kids are committing suicide because of it. And that's a bold statement.
Wow.
I know.
I haven't heard that. But okay.
It's a bold statement.
Whoa, Javis.
But fucking, it's ruining lives. I'm sorry. You're perpetuating a culture that oppresses minorities in terms of not only race, but also sexual identity. And it's just really fucked up. And so you're responsible and liable for that. So if you're going to be responsible and liable for somebody's self-esteem, then you might as well make sure they know how to do their fucking taxes.
A lot of energy there.
I'm sorry. That one, that one
don't
makes me
be
angry.
You spoke from your heart and mind. I would say, so what, to wrap this all up, the education system is fucked.
It's fucked. That's going to be the conclusion of every episode. I'm sorry, guys.
And it should be changed. And we've given a few ideas out there on a few things you should probably add or take away. But who cares? Because who are we?
Who cares?
Right.
We are.
Yeah, right.
We care.
So
you don't have to.
Till next time, you guys.
Yeah. Hope like, comment.
Oh yeah, wait, like, subscribe, all that
comment.
stuff. Please comment.
Always comment.
Whether you agree or don't agree. If you have something you want to say, just please let us know. Give us feedback on what you think and what, if we should improve on anything, or just anything you're thinking. Just let us know.
Give us sound effects you'd like.
Anything.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Later, you guys.
See you guys.